Welcome to La Pinche Politica. Uh, Lots happened. We had our legislative session just ended last week. For those of you who don't know, Georgia has one of the shortest legislative sessions of any state. We have 40 legislative days, and then that kind of stretches over, with holidays, and then there are committee work days when they're technically not in session. So that's why, it's not over and done by the, end of February, right? But this was an interesting session. One Sine Die, which is the last day of session, which was this past Friday, ended early. Typically, that last day of session goes into the wee small hours of the morning. The Senate unexpectedly adjourned relatively early, I think before 9 o'clock. And then the House went on for a little bit longer, but ended shortly thereafter. And it was a surprise to a lot of folks. I know I was down there at the Capitol prepared to go until the bitter end. And it was confusing, but a welcome confusion when it ended a little bit earlier than expected. And because of that, there were bills that we were tracking that we were going to be, that we expected to fight to the very end. To those wee small hours into midnight and to 1 a.m. And because of session ending early, that gave a lot of advocates a little reprieve, at least until next session. So SB 21, which is a piece of legislation that we were tracking during session, that would remove sovereign immunity for local officials and local governments that enforce quote unquote sanctuary policies, which would just, make it easier to sue governments and sue government officials and put local tax dollars paid by local taxpayers at risk. And so we expected that one we weren't sure where it was going to go. But once session ended early, it was clear that, at least for now, that bill is not going to become law. There were a number of elections related bills that we were tracking and working hard against that we were worried were going to be put up for a vote in the House, on the House side, in the final hours and the final moments. That did not happen. So a lot of bad pieces of legislation that we were looking at did not pass and will not, at least for the time being, become law. We'll have to see what happens next year with the next session, which will be the second session or the last session of this legislative term that we're in. So we're kind of in limbo with a lot of these bills. And so, that's definitely something to celebrate, and we certainly have, and will continue to do so. But also wanted to make space and acknowledge that there were some bad bills that passed out of this session, were signed, and some of which were signed into law. This was a bad session for our LGBTQ plus community. We saw anti-trans legislation make it across and pass out of the legislature. We saw the RFRA, the bill that we were working against, pass out of the legislature, which our argument has been, and our partners' arguments have been, that RFRA, that bill, would essentially provide a license to discriminate and make it harder for people to access important services and care, and that includes care related to STDs and HIV and the prevention of the spread of HIV, which is very important here in the state of Georgia, because we have one of the highest rates of any state in the United States of HIV. And so that was a real concern. And then, to the point about the anti-trans legislation that we saw make it out. We know that we have a very diverse Latino community, and there are a lot of assumptions made about our community. But an interesting data point that I learned about not too long ago is that nearly a quarter of folks who identify as trans in the United States are also a part of our Latino and Hispanic community. So these anti-trans policies and legislation, they have they will have a disproportionate effect on our community, and so that's cause for concern as well. So session, there are things to agonize over and to organize around moving forward. And then there are things and victories and small wins that we can celebrate as well. So that's as quick of an update I can provide on this past legislative session. We'll continue to talk about as we move forward about what has become law, how these things are going to be implemented, and how they'll impact your lives from day to day. And then, of course, we'll continue to work and advocate and discuss what we're seeing at the local, state, and federal levels, regardless of whether or not the legislature is in session. So that's it for La Pinche Politica, and we'll be right back to sign off with my co-hosts.